Hello and welcome to the Punters Guide. You can tell the weather is getting better because we get lighter nights. And Jason Weaver's back on ITV Racing. How you doing, Jason?
I mean, great form, really, really good form, isn't it? Everybody keeps saying to me, oh, gotta love the winter season, and I think, well, go and sit outside your husky. We'll wait for the sunshine to come back, and just getting a few. The grass is starting to grow, and Newmarket is bubbling along nicely.
Are you ready for the new flat season?
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? And you'll know, sort of being engulfed by the sport anyway. We get past Cheltenham, and then all of a sudden there's a mad rush about what is going to happen with the Betfred Classics, and that's the way it's been. That's been the real talking point down at HQ.
Right. Well, we're actually starting at Donny, aren't we? Live on ITV. We start with the 120, the Brocklesby.
I mean, look, obviously people are latching on to whether it's a Hannon, whether it's going to be Ammo Racing. They've got a few horses that have been well backed. I think it's interesting that their main rider, David Egan, has gone across to Kempton rather than be at Doncaster. And we can't go and chat about the Brocklesby without mentioning the horse down the bottom, Never Not Remember You. And that's trained by Kathy Turner, the daughter of the late, great Bill Turner, who sadly passed last season, of course. And this was his race, wasn't it, for many, many years?
It certainly was. So, what do you fancy for the Brocklesby?
I think that I'm going to keep a very close eye on Bill the Bull, who goes for the Vicarage Dreamers. Adam Kirby recently started out as a trainer. I think he's sort of wanting to put a real stamp on the training ranks, if you like. And he's got an interesting little colt, speedy type. He's a really, really good horseman, and I'll be fascinated to how he sits in the market. Interestingly, not got one of his local jockeys. He's gone for Sam James, so that's an interesting jockey booking for that particular horse.
Yeah, around about the 12 to 1 mark at the moment. Bill the Bull. So that is Jason's pick for the Brocklesby, the official start of the flat season. Then we go to the 250, the Cammage Trophy, where we're 4 places each way, online and in the Betfred shops. Looks wide open, the Cammage.
Yeah, look up. You got so many horses like an Anaf who's coming back from Riyadh, Art Power who've been winning. Yeah, I think he won the Renaissance over in Ireland on 3 occasions. That's been his happy hunting ground. And Spycatcher. But those three at the top, they all carry a £5 penalty for their group successes last year because they fall within that bracket. So it's probably worth looking at horses like a Jassor, was close up in the July Cup when we last saw him, but he's an old favourite of mine. You know that I'm going to land on him. I'm a bit of a haggish groupie, and Montasib, he's a wonderful old performer, isn't he? He couldn't quite do it down at the minimum when we saw him at Newbury at the back end, but back up over 6. He won this in 2024, and he ran in the Lincoln in 2023. They were always trying to get him to stay further, but he's a real sprinter. Montasib.
Yeah, Montasib, top of the market at the moment with Spycatcher at 4 to 1. Then we move to the 225, which is the Spring Mile. And we're at 5 places each way for the Spring Mile and online and in Betfred shops. Again, another wide open contest.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about the draw, haven't they? But I mean, I think that's nigh on impossible to gauge, isn't it? After the winter that we have, I saw the clerk of the course talking about it being, good to soft in place, good to soft in places, but closer to good to soft. So no real extreme for us here. I quite like the angle of horses coming in, having had a run, a little bit of a prep going in tends to give them a touch of a fitness edge. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity, try and look back at Far From Dandy's run over in the Irish Lincoln. He was a fairly close up fourth. He gave it away at the gate. He stayed on really, really well, hit the line strongly. And I just think that when you've got Colin Keane on board, a multiple Irish champ, he's out there in double digits because it's Mez Carla who's likely to be favourite for the Jack Shannon team. John and Julia Aisbit, obviously, they've got a great record in this and also the big Lincoln itself, and he's got that pedigree. But I think everybody has lent in that way and looking like he's a bit of a a plot horse, if you like. I think Far From Dandy is underestimated, the Irish Raider, and he's also an each-way price.
Yeah, 12 to 1 at the moment for Far From Dandy with Colin Keane on board. Right, let's move to the 257, which is the Doncaster Mile Stakes.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? You know, we got a listed race. Surely they could bump the money up here. That's what we'd be hoping for. We got two Group 1 winners in here, a Sussex winner and a Queen Anne winner. They're the two that really dominate the top, I should imagine, Docklands and Kirat. The others, although Excellent Believers won 3 from 7, Treble T 2 from 8, and Volterra 3 from 12, it looks as if the horses with that bit more seasoning are likely to come to the fore. Keep a close eye. The paddock is going to be so important, isn't it, beforehand? You need to try and see who's fit off the back of a break. But Docklands has got a good record, a fairly decent record, fresh, and he's £4 clear on official ratings. And you have to ask yourself, did Kirat get that inflated rating because he won at 150 to 1 in the Sussex? So that's the way I'm leaning in there.
Docklands 6 to 4 favourite at the moment for the Mile Stakes. Right, I'm going to have a moan about the Lincoln, Jason. I know It's not your fault. Right, the Lincoln is 3.32. How ridiculous. Feature races should not be going off at 32. Yeah. What are we playing at? It should be going off at 3.30 or 3.35 or 3.40.
Okay, well, I think it's a fair point, but what I will say, there is so much racing stacked, isn't there? You know, you got you got the Dubai meeting going on and everything, but I totally understand where you come from. It'll run late.
The race of the day should not be 3.32.
Yep, that's a fair point. You know, you've got no sort of leg to stand on, really, have you? Because you want everybody to get it into their mind, don't you? And it's once they started changing and adding little bits on all the way through, it's made it much more staggered. People want everything immediate now. And when you go to the races and they keep having 35 and 40-minute gaps, it's good if it is your big race. But on your normal race day, people like to go in, they know where they stand, and they know where they can go and have a punt.
Anyway, I'll forgive the BHA for 3.32 if we can find a winner, Jason.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be great? Now, young Toby Moore, Ryan's son, of course, he's always going to come with a bit of a following. It's interesting when you go down through them, everybody has gone Labot or it's Eternal Force. Those two, very, very strong. Now, Harry Eustace worked for William Haggis. He was his assistant for a while. He's had the prep run. Everybody saw Labot's run right round the outside in the trial at Wolverhampton. And Eternal Force, since he had the cruelest cut of all, the gelding operation, he's just focused on the job, forgot the fillies, and he started winning. But Anno Domini ran in the feature here at Doncaster not that long ago, you know, up at the top level. I like the angle again. He's been over in Maidan. He's had 2 prep runs. 1 over 7 was too short. 1 over the mile where he came from way off the pace. I thought with Toby taking 7 off, just 9 stone 1 to carry, he's really interesting.
Yeah, third favourite at the moment, around 9 to 1, 72 the field as we record this. So Anno Domini 9 to 1 with young Toby Moore on board. Right, that's it for the races at Doncaster live on ITV. But then we go to Kempton and we kick off with the Queen's Prize handicap at 208.
Quite like this, don't you? You know, 2 milers around here, some super horses. You've got a Pitman's Derby and a Watergate Cup winner and Spirit Mixer. You've got Lavender Hill Mob, who managed to win a real good handicap at Cheltenham. He's back on the level. And the improvers, the likes of a Belgravian, who probably might leak his way to it or sort of climb his way to the top of the market. But there's a low mileage improver in here from a really good outfit. Anniversary for the Beckett Jack Dace combination. Now he's a great big powerhouse, which is probably why we only saw him on a couple of occasions last year. Again, I've lent into the fact that he's had a prep run just 29 days ago at Lingfield behind a pretty good stayer who you'll know, Enemy. from the Ian Williams stable, and he just ran a little bit like he needed it off the home turn and then got going again late on. So I think Anniversary's got an inside draw, and young Jack Dace taking off a valuable 5. Could be a good day for the claimers starting off the turf campaign.
Yeah, about 100 to 30 at the moment, Anniversary. Then we move to the 242 at Kempton.
Yeah, we're going back down over
Of course, yeah, it's London middle distance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Rosebery. Yeah, it's a race that Andrew Baldwin won last year. Tamusius Fox, he seemed to come from absolutely nowhere down the inside. Lots of these, the likes of Military Academy, he ran well in the Winter Derby. I suppose if you took his second to Hamish at Goodwood, he'd be a bit of a player. El Burnham. Now, he's probably going to attract a lot of support. Billy Loughnane is there for his boss, George Bowie, but he's untried at the trip, and he's having his first try on a synthetic. But, of course, it's the sexy combination and in the famous Shadwell colours, so he's bound to attract support. Respond is going to need to settle a little bit better if he's going to flash home. I quite like the look of Real Dream, who hasn't been with the team that long. On his first try for the squad, Real Dream, he was third in this last year at 33 to 1 from an impossible position. Now, he has been over in Riyadh. He ran really well, finished fourth, picked up a huge chunk of prize money, and he drops back down in trip. Again, I like the fitness angle, and I mentioned David Egan. He's on board. He's hot off a brilliant winter over in America. So David Egan will do for me. Real Dream.
Yeah, it's about 14 to 1, Real Dream. And then the final race, and Kempton and Live on ITV, is the Snowdrop Village Stakes.
Yeah, and we're in listed company, so it's all about getting them to finish in the 1, 2, 3 for their page, for their paddocks, how much they're going to generate when they go on to do their second job. And we got 3 standouts, which are American Gal, we've got Cathedral, and we've also got Survey, who are up in the triple-digit rating. So the market will be very strong around them. The one they've forgotten about in here, and it's from an outfit that we will hear so much about in the coming season. It's number 6, Glittering Surf, for Owen Burrows and Callum Rodriguez. Now, she's got a perfect 2 from 2 at this venue. When she won the second of those, they were talking about aiming her at the Coronation. It didn't quite happen. She grew a little bit and she got a bit of weakness. So they pulled the plug and they're just regrouping for another season. It's a perfect starting point, and she must be well in front of 92. I know it's a level stakes race, a level weight race, but they must think she's significantly higher in that. Otherwise, they'd throw her straight in a handicap. I think she's overpriced. Glittering Surf.
Around about 8 to 1. Right, 8 races live on ITV. What's the best bet then, Jason?
Well, look, everybody has latched onto Le Bot and to Eternal Force for 2 very good trainers and one man who's got an absolute stranglehold on the Lincoln. But why is Anno Domini not the class of the field? He started favourite on a couple of occasions over in Meydan. He's got a fitness edge. He's got young Toby Moore on board. He gets the opportunity because a lot of the big boys will be over in Dubai. Anno Domini, is he still around an each-way price? Can we have an each-way nap? But I think
he is,
definitely run a big one.
Well, we're 5 places each way on a Lincoln, and
that's
Anno
massive.
Domini.
That is massive. 5 places in this.
Yep. Is currently 9 to 1, Jason. 9 to 1. I tell you what, you've wintered well. It's good to have you back on the Punters Guide. How's your golf?
Golf is very average, very average. But there we go. We'll keep, as I keep saying, I'm not brilliant yet. So I think that's about the best attitude you can have.
But for us punters, Jason, it's a brilliant time of year. Obviously, the start of the flat season, we've got the Grand National. And then we got the Masters, the same weekend as the Grand National. I know you love the Masters, one of my favourite events of the year.
Oh, stop it. With the golf just around the corner, and trying to find people who are coming in strong form. You know, Seth Thigala, he's had an absolute howler on his opening day, first ball out of bounds and everything else. So he was hoping to have a nice little warm up. But of course, with the broom handle and how he's putting at the moment on the tricky greens that there will be at Augusta, that is an absolute must. You've got to be mustard with the flat stick.
Right, Jason, brilliant to speak to you. So Anno Domini is the nap. Right, thanks so much for joining us, Jason. Have a good weekend, everybody, and be lucky.